Another area that we want to cover in the Ironeagle demonstration is the ERA environment, which is Explode, Render, and Animate. So what you'll need to do is change your display configuration at the top level to the number 10 display config called Animation. Basically, that just turns on the framework. Now once we change the display config, you'll want to come over to the subassembly 010002 and use the open. Right click on it and use the open option to open up this particular assembly. Now when we do this, you'll notice that it's just the framework with the wheels and the tires and some of the back frame parts that hold up the motor. What we'll do once we're in this assembly is change to the moving linkage portion or display configuration. Now basically this linkage is what lifts up the deck. It lifts it up and lets it back down. And in order to animate that, we're going to first apply a motor to this front bar. And let's go ahead and use a 30 degrees a second. And we'll also add a 30 on the front for limit, because we want to limit its motion to 30 degrees. And then we can identify the front round bar, and then you'll want to set your rotation clockwise. When we're done with that, we can click and you'll see that it adds that motor to our assembly. And it will highlight it and give you some feedback as to the degrees that it's going to move in. The next thing that we want to do once we've applied that motor is obviously we can go up and just simulate the motor very quickly, but instead let's go into the Tools ERA environment. When we're in this particular environment, we have three options. We can animate, which we will do, and then we can also use Explode, whether you use automatic or manual, and then we can render. And so let's first thing we're going to take a look at is Explode. I'm just going to work on the front corner of this particular design. And I'm going to use the manual method. And by selecting a specific component and accepting it, it's going to ask me for a stationary part. And I want to explode off of the bottom of this part. It gives me an arrow. So I can just left mouse button click to accept and then right mouse button click to explode. And then finish. Now what you'll want to do is you'll want to deselect after each one of these because you don't want to include that into the next manual explode. Then I'm going to select the two nuts on the left side of the framework and accept them. And then we'll accept off of the bar, and of course this time we're going to use quick pick to get the back side, and we want to go to the left with those. For explode technique, we'll move the components as a single unit and accept it and finish and then deselect again. Now what we're going to do is let's go ahead and identify the lower bar, and we'll accept it, and then once again we'll identify this L bracket, and we want the bottom face downward and explode it, deselect, and then we'll do the nut. Again selecting the L bracket, this time the top, and explode it. Then deselect. For the final option, we're going to select the bearing, then the in this particular order, then the blue L bracket. Then we want to get the bolt. And then there is a washer behind this L bracket, so I'm going to use quick pick to get that washer. And then we want to get the L bracket and then the final bolt. When we accept this, we're going to explode it off of the same bar in the front face, and it's going to bring up the explode technique. This time we're going to spread components evenly. Instead of moving them as one single unit, we want to move them independently, and we can accept that and explode, and we're done. And as we zoom out, you'll notice that it did explode each one of these components. Now one of the neat things that you can do is you can change their position. So for example, if I use the drag component and select and right mouse button click to accept, it's going to give me a the triad, which I can grab an axis and just move it over, and you notice it adds a jog. If I want to extend this length, I can easily do that. If I select the drag component again, you'll notice that I can also drag, and you'll notice that the move dependent parts are going to follow along with that. If I turn move dependent parts off and go move selected part, it will just move the single part. But what I'm doing is I'm just tightening up the spread distance between some of these particular components. Now, once we get the parts where we want them to be, then what we can do is come up to our display configs, and I already have a config called linkage explode. So what you want to do is you want to select that and then resave, and it already exists with this name. Do you want to overwrite? And you'll want to pick yes. And so now we've saved over top of that particular configuration. So as we do this, you'll also notice that while we're exploding, it does have an explode tab in Pathfinder, and you can expand it and it'll show you the different groups that we've created for this manual explode. And then it shows you, of course, all the unexploded parts that are in the same assembly. So we do give you some good feedback where you can go in and make some specific changes if you need to for this particular explosion. Now the next thing that we're going to do is take it into the animation editor. As we go into animation editor, I'm going to go ahead and expand it up. This will minimize it and then expand it. And we want to right mouse button click on the motors and edit its definition, and we want to add that motor in that we created earlier. So we'll go ahead and just click on the OK button, and you're going to see that it's going to add that in here. While it's there, I'm going to click on it, right mouse button click and copy, and then come to the right of it, and I'm going to mirror that. Once I get it mirrored, I'm going to move it so that it's together. After that, we can go to the explode, right mouse button click, and click on the edit definition. Here you just want to make sure that you have the linkage explode configuration in there. Initial state is exploded the way it is now, and we're going to start with the innermost parts first and implode as we run this animation. So we'll go ahead and accept that, and you can see that it's going to build all of the parts moving very quickly. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to shorten that up, and I'm going to let's see here, move this up a little bit, scroll to the end, and let's shorten this up. We'll want to move it so that it'll rotate first, and then it will go into the explode. And of course I'm going to shorten this up to about 120. Then what I want to do is I want to copy again, and I want to paste over here and move this. And then what I want to do is I want to copy and mirror, and again move it together. Then I want to grab the explode. It's going to highlight the explode, and I want to copy it, and then finally I want to mirror it. So now I've got the rotation, I've got where it's going to implode, then I've got the rotation again, and then I've got the explode. And of course you can run this to the end if you need to. So once we have that set up, we've got our motor and our explosion set, we can come up here and we can run through the process. And I'll go ahead and start that, but before we do, we can collapse or minimize to get a little bit more screen. And as we go to play, you're going to see it rotate 30 degrees and then back up. That's the mirror. Now it's going to implode in the same direction in which we exploded. Then it's going to rotate again, and then it's going to explode back out. So you can see with the interface that we provide you through the animation editor, you can set up some pretty advanced animations with your parts, and there are several other controls that allow you to toggle the scale. You can change their appearance as they move. You can get 60% into the explosion, and parts can start becoming transparent, or they can appear as they move. So there's different options that you have within this particular environment to set up many different things. And then of course you can create a movie from this as well using the Save As Movie. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and close the animation editor. I don't need to save it at this particular point. And then I'm going to go back to my moving linkage display configuration. And what I want to do at this point is I'm going to go into the rendering portion. So I'm just going to go ahead and click on the scene. And what it will do is it will quickly render this scene. And you're going to see that it's going to apply the colors that the parts default to. Now at any time under the sessions entities, these are the entities that are actually applied. If you want to, for example, right mouse button click on background and edit its definition, and if you want to go, for example, to maybe horizon and change that color to, let's say white, for example, then you can actually re-render that and it will leave it as white in the background. Another thing that's really nice is that you can go to the predefined archives. And here's where you can find different things that you can apply, like backgrounds or an environment, foregrounds. You can change the lighting sources. Let's, for example, go into just something quick and easy. We'll go into Chrome. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this Chrome plate and I'm going to apply it to this blue L bracket. It's going to give us an option. I'm going to tell it all occurrences, and you'll notice that it does change it. And then I'm going to come up to, say, brass, and we'll go to antique brass, and I'm going to copy that to this little L bracket, and we'll use all occurrences there. Once we've done that, we can of course we can change the background scenery, whether we want to put this part in a room or on a square base or circular base. And of course there's render modes, whether we want artistic or photorealistic. So there's several options you can apply here, but what I'm going to do is just go ahead and render the scene again, and you'll notice that we have the chrome with the brass. Now that might be a little bit hard to see, so if I zoom up on this a little bit and then re-render the scene, it'll just render that shorter screen and be pretty quick. But you'll notice you get the reflection off of the chrome. We got the brass fitting, and it gives you some good feedback, some very quick renderings. Of course you can save these out as images if you need to. But again, the ERA environment gives you a lot of tools to animate your design, to explode using an automatic method or a manual method. And then of course you can render your designs, and then of course create images and of course movies from the animation. So there's a lot of tools just built right into ERA that makes this a very powerful solution. So with that, we've completed this portion of the demonstration. I'd close out of the ERA environment when you're done. And then when you're done there, you can certainly close out without saving to go back to the top level assembly, and we're right back where we started from. So with that, this is the end of the ERA how-to demonstration.